with the latest security scare at the White House. The Secret Service says an agent shot an armed man outside the executive mansion after he refused to drop his weapon.
And yet we begin tonight with a man who jumped the fence at the White House, ran across the North Lawn, and made it all the way inside the front door before he was subdued.
The whole incident lasted only about 15 seconds. Staffers and reporters were still evacuated. But with sharpshooters on the roof and agents and guard dogs patrolling the lawn, the Secret Service says it is investigating why it was unable to stop Gonzalez.
Every U.S. president has lived and worked in the White House. And while that sounds fancy, it comes with a massive target on their back. From bizarre threats to outlandish conspiracy theories, presidents have always faced danger. That's why the White House isn't just an architectural gem. It's a fortress, constantly evolving its security. But what exactly goes on behind those iconic walls, and how deep do these security layers run? Join us as we dive into what makes the White House not just a historic mansion, but a next-level fortress. First, let's talk about the White House itself, one of the most famous buildings in the world. This iconic mansion sits on 18 acres of prime real estate, right in the heart of Washington, D.C. From the outside, it looks like a classy, old-school palace with its massive white columns and grand windows. We're talking about 132 rooms, 35 bathrooms, and 6 levels. The president's got the best setup ever with the Oval Office. Yeah, that famous round room you've seen in every political drama. And it's not just a workplace. The White House is also the president's home. There's a movie theater, a bowling alley, a tennis court, and even a swimming pool. But trust me, there's a lot more going on behind those doors. The no-go circle. Let's kick things off with the skies above the White House. Did you know the airspace over it is a giant do not enter sign for pilots? Yep, it's called a Special Flight Rules Area, or SFRA, and it covers most of the Baltimore, Washington, D.C. area. Any aircraft flying within this zone needs to follow some very strict rules. You can't just hop into your plane and go sightseeing over the White House. Oh no. Pilots need to file a flight plan, stay in constant contact with air traffic control, and get a special clearance from the Federal Aviation Administration before even thinking about entering the zone. And let me tell you, if they don't follow these rules, it gets serious real quick. This no-fly zone stretches in a huge circle 33 miles around Washington, D.C., and let's just say you really don't want to mess with it. If a plane enters without permission, the North American Defense Command issues a warning within seconds. Seconds, people. And if the pilot doesn't immediately divert, well, let's just say the options are limited. You either get escorted out by military jets or, yeah, things don't end well. We're talking boom, no in between, yes or no, simple as that. Take the case of the Cessna 560 Citation V. This private jet accidentally flew into the no-fly zone without clearance, and F-16 fighter jets were on the scene in less than 12 minutes. Yep, 6 supersonic jets scrambled from Joint Base Andrews, all because one little plane crossed the line. They tried everything to get the pilot's attention, even launching flares, but the pilot wasn't responding. The plane eventually crashed in Virginia, and sadly, all 4 people on board died. It's believed the crash was caused by hypoxia, basically lack of oxygen, but it goes to show just how intense these no-fly zone rules are. Like, can we talk about how quickly 6 jets responded to 1 plane? That's some serious security. If you're in the wrong place, even by mistake, you're gonna know about it fast. The White House does not mess around. The Eagle Eye Guardians. And if the airspace above the White House is that locked down, just imagine what's happening on the ground. Right below that restricted airspace, you're being watched. No, seriously, if you look closely at the White House roof, you might spot some shadowy, ninja-like figures lurking around. Yep, those are the snipers. They're part of the Secret Service's elite counter-sniper team, and their job is to keep a constant long-range watch over everything happening around the White House. They're not just standing around looking tough though, they're gathering real-time intel and ready to respond to any threat that pops up. Now, how many snipers are there? I have no clue, and good luck finding out. It's top secret. But trust me, it's a lot, and they've got eyes on every inch of those 18 acres. They have to requalify every month by hitting targets from over 3,000 feet away. That's like a dream come true for any gamer, and while these snipers are absolute pros, they rarely ever get the chance to show off their skills, because thankfully, no one's dumb enough to try anything that close to the White House. The counter-sniper team has never had to take out a threat on the spot. Instead, they just hang back, monitoring every little movement like hawks. But knowing they're there, that's what keeps everything safe and secure. The Avenger. So, if you thought snipers were the only thing up on the White House roof, let me blow up your mind. There's something way more intense happening up there. Missile batteries. Remember how we talked about the restricted airspace and what happens if a plane doesn't comply? First, they get escorted, but if they still don't play by the rules, well, they get destroyed. And I know you're probably wondering, okay, but how do they destroy it? Let's talk about that. These aren't just any regular defense systems, they're the big leagues. We got our first peek at them thanks to Shepard Johnson, who posted screenshots from Google Earth on Cryotome. They were spotted on the roof of the new executive office building. These are part of a sophisticated air defense system designed to protect the White House from airborne threats. And I'm not just talking about commercial planes here. These things can take down drones, cruise missiles, low-flying aircraft, you name it. In November 2019, the whole thing kicked into high gear when the White House went on full alert because of an airspace violation. The security team spotted what they described as a slow-moving, ominous black blob in the restricted zone. Within seconds, a defense system was deployed on the roof of a building just across the street from the White House. And not just any defense system, it was an Avenger air defense system. No, not the Marvel superheroes, though that would be awesome, but a real-life missile system. The Avenger system, officially called the ANTWQ-1, is an American-made, self-propelled surface-to-air missile system. It's got 8 infrared-guided Stinger missiles, each one with a range of about 2 miles. These babies can lock onto and destroy all the sky threats. 6 F-16 fighter jets were already on standby, just waiting for the order to take off. You'd think we were gearing up for some epic battle, right? But what was this huge, scary threat that had everyone on edge? A drone? A rogue aircraft? Nope, not even close. It was a flock of birds. A flock of birds had entered the restricted zone, and that was enough to trigger this massive security response. Talk about an anticlimax. Birds or not, they don't mess around when it comes to protecting the president. I mean, they've got an entire air defense system locked and loaded on the roof, ready to take action at a moment's notice. The Sky Scouts. We all know what drones are, right? They're literally everywhere these days. From kids' toys to cinematic shots, drones have become as common as smartphones. But they're all fun and games until someone decides to turn them into a real threat. Yup, with a bit of ingenuity, people can strap explosives to these flying gadgets and make them downright dangerous. One time, a drone was spotted flying way too close to the White House, and everyone went into panic mode. They couldn't figure out where it came from or who was controlling it. Thankfully, it turned out to be some government employee who was just bored and flying it for kicks. But this close call raised some serious eyebrows about security. It was a wake-up call. After that incident, the world's largest drone manufacturer, DJI, rolled out something called geofencing. Sounds fancy, but basically, it's like an invisible force field that stops drones from entering restricted areas, like the White House. No more rogue drones buzzing around the president's backyard. And let's be real, with drones getting smarter and more advanced by the day, the threats are real. If someone can whip up a dangerous drone at home, imagine what could happen at a place like the White House. Who knows, they might even be working on some secret, super high-tech drones themselves. Wouldn't be all that surprising, right? Fences, the unbreakable. And don't even get me started on the fences. You'd think they're just for decoration, right? Well, not quite. Back in 2014, a man named Omar Gonzalez decided to climb over the White House fence, armed with a knife. He not only got over, but also made it into the White House. Thankfully, security tackled him before things got worse, but let's be real, how did he even get that far? Let me take you back to the 19th century, right when the White House was fresh and new. It was Thomas Jefferson, the 3rd president of the United States, who first thought, maybe we need a fence here. So, in 1801, he put up a simple wooden post and rail fence. Fast forward through the years, and the fences slowly evolved, taller, stronger, but clearly, still not enough to stop a guy like Omar. When the Secret Service searched Omar's car, which was parked nearby, they found a whole arsenal of weapons, a machete, a hatchet, and over 800 rounds of ammunition. So, what did they do? They stepped up their game. In 2019, the White House upgraded its fence to a whopping 14 feet tall. But this isn't just any fence. It's got anti-climb and intrusion detection tech built into it. Oh, and rumors are floating around that it's equipped with pressure sensors. This new and improved fence, which cost a cool $64 million, is designed to keep threats far, far away from the president's house. So yeah, if you're thinking about getting past that, good luck, the big dogs. If you thought those fancy new fences were foolproof, let me stop you right there. People always find a way to try their luck. In fact, in October 2014, just a month after the infamous Omar Gonzalez incident, another guy, Dominic Adesanya, decided to pull the same stunt. Yep, he literally jumped the White House fence. But unlike Omar, Dominic didn't make it very far. Why? Oh, just two big reasons, Hurricane and Jordan. Nope, not weather conditions, these are Belgian Malinois dogs. If you didn't already know, dogs are pretty much man's best friend, right? Since 1976, the Secret Service has had a team of specially trained dogs on the job, and their go-to breed is the Belgian Malinois. These dogs have been bred for centuries to be the ultimate workers. They can clear a 6-foot fence like it's a puddle and sprint at speeds up to 30 miles per hour. They are specifically trained to bite, and trust me, there's nothing more satisfying to them than clamping down on a threat. Basically, you don't want to be on the wrong side of their jaws, and every dog stationed at the White House has to complete a rigorous 20-week training course to make sure they know a real threat when they see one. So, when Dominic decided to hop the fence, he was greeted by Hurricane and Jordan. And with names like that, you can imagine how things went. And honestly, after hearing all this, if you're still thinking about hopping that fence, you might want to reconsider. Windows, the shield. On November 11th, 2011, Oscar Ramiro Ortega Hernandez did something wild. He drove from Idaho to Washington, parked near the White House, and just opened fire with a semi-automatic rifle. Thanks to the windows, of course. We know the White House is massive, right? I mean, it's not exactly a cozy little cottage. And with a big house comes, yep, you guessed it, tons of windows. The exact number, 147. That's 147 shiny targets for anyone who thinks they can take a shot at the president. And Oscar, in all his wisdom, decided to take advantage of that and drove across the country to fire his shots at the White House. Talk about commitment. He managed to fire at least 8 rounds, but guess what? Only one bullet actually hit a window on the 2nd floor. And you know what's even funnier? That bullet didn't even penetrate the glass. Not even a scratch. Why, you ask? Because every single window in the White House is made of bulletproof glass. And not just your regular old bulletproof glass. No, these windows are next level. We're talking about level 8 bulletproof glass, the stuff that's a whopping 2.5 inches thick. So yeah, Oscar didn't exactly make the best choice there. Moral of the story? Maybe don't try to shoot out White House windows. The men in white inside the Secret Service Uniform Division. Let's dive into the world of the men in white, also known as the Secret Service Uniform Division. These guys are the guardians of the White House, and trust me, they have one of the most important and coolest jobs in the country. First off, you might be wondering, who are these dapper defenders? Well, the uniformed division consists of around 1,200 officers who are always on duty to ensure the safety of the president, vice president, and their families. That's right, these are the first line of defense, standing watch at the White House and throughout the surrounding areas. Their presence is like having a 24/7 security detail that could make a Mission Impossible movie look like a picnic. So, what do these officers actually do? Their responsibilities range from protecting the president during public events to securing the White House grounds. They manage access points and conduct thorough security checks to keep the bad guys out. Basically, they're like the bouncers of the most exclusive club in America, only instead of checking IDs, they're checking for threats. But mind you, getting into this elite group isn't as easy as it sounds. Each officer must have a minimum of 5 years of law enforcement experience under their belt. That's like getting a PhD in protecting the president. Once they're accepted, they undergo an intense 29-week training, which includes a 13-week basic police training and a 16-week training program at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. This isn't your average training camp. They're learning tactical skills, crisis management, and how to stay cool under pressure. Think of it as boot camp for the bravest of the brave. And let's not forget about the specialized teams within the uniform division. They have the doggos we talked about earlier. They also have emergency response teams ready to tackle any unexpected situations. And yes, it also includes the sniper team. These officers often get to interact with the public. When they're not busy guarding the president, you might spot them at events, shaking hands, and even posing for selfies. Heat vision, the thermal seekers. So, you might think that when the sun goes down, sneaky people can just creep around the White House without being noticed. But hold on to your hats, people. The security team has some serious tricks up their sleeves, including infrared sensors that are always on the lookout for any shady behavior outside the gates. Infrared sensors work by detecting heat emitted from objects like a person or even a warm cup of coffee. When something hot moves in their field of vision, these sensors pick it up like a hawk. They convert the infrared radiation into electronic signals that trigger alarms faster than you can say, security breach. Imagine sitting in the security room monitoring dozens of screens and suddenly, beep, one of the sensors goes off. You know you've got a potential intruder and it's game time for the uniform division. These officers have the training and skills to respond quickly, so don't even think about trying to pull a fast one under the cover of the night. Now, you might wonder, why doesn't the Secret Service just spill the beans about these sensors? Well, if the word gets out that they've got these nifty tools, what do you think some creeps might do? Instead of going home, they'd likely gather their buddies and brainstorm ways to outsmart the system, like trying to crack the code of a high-tech heist movie. And before you know it, we could have another Dominic or Oscar trying to make headlines for all the wrong reasons. So yeah, revealing too much could turn out to be a major facepalm for the security team. Keeping the specifics under wraps is actually a smart move. It's all about staying one step ahead of anyone who thinks they can outsmart them. Marine One, the Skyscape. So let's talk about Marine One, the helicopter that whisks the President of the United States away from the White House like a scene straight out of an action movie. But how did this airborne chariot come to be? Marine One's roots trace back to the 1950s when President Dwight D. Eisenhower recognized the need for a quick and secure way to travel. The stakes were high during the Cold War, and having a speedy escape route was no joke. The first official presidential helicopter was a Sikorsky H-34, but things got really serious when Lyndon B. Johnson had to make a hasty escape during the Vietnam War. And then there's the infamous 1972 incident involving President Nixon, who, after a tense situation, was flown away on Marine One, setting a precedent for future presidents. Fast forward to today, and Marine One is a symbol of safety. It is basically a modified version of the Sikorsky S-92 helicopter. It's a big deal, measuring around 64 feet long. This baby is designed to withstand just about anything. It boasts advanced bulletproof glass and armor plating to protect against potential threats. Marine One can fly at speeds of up to 180 miles per hour. That means it can zip away from danger quickly. Plus, it can operate in various weather conditions, so rain or shine, it's always ready for action. Poison Patrol. In the world of high-stakes dining, food can be more than just delicious. It can also be a sneaky weapon. So, who do we have to thank for ensuring that those tasty bites don't pack a deadly punch? The food tasters. These brave individuals are employed specifically to taste the food before it reaches the president or other important figures. Why, you ask? Well, imagine a lovely dish that looks mouth-watering but is hiding a secret ingredient. Poison! That's a hard pass. So, the food tasters are here to save the day. They sample everything from appetizers to desserts, all while being monitored under strict security. Their job isn't just about savoring flavors, it's a matter of life and death. They're often watched closely by security teams. This means they're not only tasting food, but also being observed to ensure they're not falling victim to any wicked plots themselves. The Oval Office, not just an ordinary room. So, we've all seen the Oval Office on TV, right? It's the room where the president signs all those important documents, takes big phone calls, and meets world leaders. But have you ever taken a really close look at it? Ever wonder how they keep the president safe when they're in there alone? After all, it's not like the Secret Service is always breathing down their neck, right? Well, here's the first little nugget of info that might surprise you: the carpet. Yep, that lush, presidential-looking rug that ties the whole room together. It's not just for aesthetics. It's been claimed that hidden underneath that very carpet are weight-sensitive pressure pads. These pads allow Secret Service agents to track the president's movements even when they're not in the room. So, if anything unusual happens, like the president going somewhere they shouldn't, it could raise an alert. Kind of like your house alarm, but on a way cooler level. Secret doors and tunnels. A president's escape route? Now, another claim floating around is about a secret door hidden under the president's desk. Yep, the same resolute desk you've seen in all those official photos. This hidden door is about 6 feet wide and 4 feet deep. It's supposed to provide a quick getaway for the president in case of an emergency. Imagine the scene. Things are getting heated, a threat looms, and the president just dips out, disappearing beneath the desk like something out of a James Bond movie. But the secretive fun doesn't end there. The White House is big, right? But did you know it's even bigger than it looks? That's because deep beneath the surface, it's hiding a network of secret tunnels. These tunnels date back to the early 19th century. At first, they were built for practical purposes, like flushing out waste. Yep, not so glamorous. But by the time World War I rolled around, the tunnels took on a whole new purpose: protecting the president. During World War I, it became important to have an evacuation plan in place, so they expanded the tunnel system to ensure the president could be safely whisked away at a moment's notice. And let me tell you, these tunnels are no joke. One of them stretches a whopping 761 feet long. It leads from the White House to the nearby Treasury Annex, where a hidden door in an alleyway serves as a discreet exit point. It's like a high-stakes game of hide-and-seek down there, and the tunnels are said to be so complex, it's basically a maze. the bunkers, the presidential vault. Now, let's talk about what really lies beneath the White House. Sure, there's a bowling alley, a dentist's office, and other typical things you'd expect to find in a big fancy mansion. But if you dig deeper, literally, you'll come across something far more impressive: the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, or PEOC. This massive underground bunker is tucked away below the East Wing, and it's designed to protect the president and other key officials during a crisis. How deep is it, you ask? Well, picture the Eiffel Tower upside down. You need an elevator just to reach it. The bunker is heavily fortified and is rumored to be equipped with everything you'd need to survive an extended stay underground. Think of it as the ultimate safe room. The PEOC was famously used during the 9/11 attacks when Vice President Dick Cheney and other officials were evacuated there for protection. So yeah, when it comes to the safety of the president, they've got things covered, literally from top to bottom. From weight-sensitive carpets to secret tunnels and a bunker, the White House is one of the most secure buildings in the world. It's like something straight out of a spy movie, but it's all real. So the next time you see the president sitting at that iconic desk or walking across the Oval Office, just remember, they're never really alone. Identity Gate. After listening to all of this, you're planning a visit to the White House? Well, there are some pretty strict rules you'll need to follow. First off, no bags are allowed, so leave your backpacks, purses, or any big items behind. You can only bring essentials: your phone, wallet, and ID. Oh, and no food, drinks, or even gum is permitted. That water bottle? Yeah, it stays outside. Visitors enter through Sherman Park at 15th Street NW and Alexander Hamilton Place NW. You'll need to go through a thorough security screening before stepping into one of the most famous buildings in the world. Keep in mind, photography is restricted to certain areas and flash photography is a no-go. Other prohibited items include aerosol sprays, weapons, fireworks, tobacco products, and liquids of any kind. Additionally, strollers, tablets, video cameras, and pointed objects like knives or sharp items are not allowed inside. With all of these things in your mind, you're now ready to visit the White House. But what do you think? Which of these security features fascinated you the most?